You know that moment when your own daughter stands up at her wedding reception and tells 200 people that your dreams have expiration dates? Yeah, that happened to me. But what those 200 people didn't know, what my daughter Teresa didn't know, was that the woman they were all laughing at had signed a $12 million acquisition deal that very morning. Let me back up. I'm Gloria Lopez. I'm 60 years old, and I'm about to tell you a story about what happens when everyone in your life decides you're too old to matter, and what happens when they find out they were catastrophically wrong. But to understand how my daughter's wedding turned into the most satisfying moment of vindication in my entire life, I need to take you back, not just to the beginning of my business journey, but to the day everything fell apart. March 15th, 2024. I'll never forget that date. I woke up that Friday morning as Gloria Lopez, 58 years old, IT support specialist with 30 years at Morrison & Associates, wife to Richard Lopez for 32 years, mother to Teresa. I had my routines, my life, my sense of who I was. By 5 p.m. that same day, I was none of those things. The meeting with HR happened at 10 a.m. Restructuring, they called it. My manager, Derek, a kid who was 12 years old when I started at Morrison, couldn't even look me in the eye. We're going in a different direction with the IT department, Gloria. Younger talent, fresh perspectives. You understand. I understood perfectly. I was being replaced by someone half my age who'd work for half my salary. At 58, I was suddenly too expensive, too outdated, too old. They gave me a severance package and 30 minutes to clear out my desk. 30 years, 30 minutes. The math seemed appropriate in its cruelty. I drove home in a daze, already rehearsing how I'd tell Richard. We'd figure it out together, I thought. We always had. The envelope was on the kitchen counter. Divorce papers, filed that morning while I was getting laid off. My husband of 32 years had left me a note. Actual words. I need to find happiness while I still have time. Patricia makes me feel young again. Patricia, his 43-year-old colleague from his accounting firm. Because apparently, when men hit 60 and panic about mortality, the solution is always a younger woman and a red sports car. I sat at that kitchen table for 3 hours, staring at the termination letter in one hand and divorce papers in the other. 2 pieces of paper that said the same thing. You're obsolete. You're past your prime. Your value has expired. I was 58 years old and the world had just told me I was done. Here's what Richard didn't know, what nobody knew. For 15 years, I'd been working on something. You see, when you're in IT support for 3 decades, you see the same problems over and over. Companies drowning in inefficient processes, manual workflows that should be automated, systems that don't talk to each other, money hemorrhaging from operational waste. And I'd learned something. I could fix it. I started small, teaching myself to code in the evenings. Python first, then JavaScript, then systems architecture. Richard thought I was playing online poker or watching Netflix. He never asked, and I never told him. By 2010, I'd built something. An AI-powered operations software that could analyze a company's workflows and automatically optimize them. It wasn't flashy. It didn't cure cancer or revolutionize social media. It just made businesses run better. I called it OptiFlow AI and registered it under a company name, DT Innovations LLC. The DT stood for Diana Thompson, my maiden name. I kept it separate from my married identity. Some instinct told me to. I never marketed it, never tried to sell it. I just kept improving it, year after year, while working my day job and being Mrs. Richard Lopez. Then something strange started happening around 2020. Small tech startups began finding me through developer forums where I'd shared some of my code. They wanted to license OptiFlow. I thought they were joking. They weren't. By 2024, I had 3 companies paying me licensing fees. Total annual revenue, $890,000. I was making nearly $1 million a year from a software platform I'd built in my spare time, and nobody in my life knew it existed. That money sat in a business account Richard didn't know about. I kept meaning to tell him, to surprise him. I thought maybe when Teresa got married, I'd use it to throw her an amazing wedding. Or Richard and I would finally take that trip to Spain we'd always talked about. Instead, on March 15th, 2024, I sat in my kitchen, recently fired, being divorced, and realized something. I didn't need Richard. I didn't need Morrison and Associates. I didn't need anyone to give me permission to matter. I had $890,000 in annual revenue, plus a $450,000 divorce settlement coming. I had a skill set nobody respected, but everyone needed. And I had absolutely nothing left to lose. So I decided to stop being invisible. The problem was, when you're a 58-year-old woman who just got divorced and fired, nobody takes you seriously when you say you're starting a business, especially not your own daughter. Teresa came over 3 days after the divorce papers were served. She brought wine and sympathy, in that order. "Mom, this is probably for the best," she said, settling onto my couch. "Dad was going through a midlife crisis, and honestly, you two had gotten so boring together." Boring. That's what 32 years of marriage looked like from the outside. "What are you going to do now?" she asked. "I'm thinking of starting a consulting business," I said carefully. "Helping companies with their operations." Teresa's face did this thing. This smile that wasn't quite a smile. "That's sweet, Mom. But you know, at your age, maybe it's better to find something stable. Like, I don't know, office manager somewhere, something with benefits." "I have experience in operations optimization." "You did IT support, Mom. That's not the same as running a business." "I also developed—" "Look," Teresa interrupted. "I love that you're trying to stay positive, but let's be realistic. You're almost 60. Starting a business is for people in their 20s and 30s, people with energy and connections and tech skills." I had literally built an AI platform from scratch, but I didn't say that. "Maybe I have more tech skills than you think," I tried. Teresa patted my hand. "Mom, I work in marketing at a real tech startup, Innovate Tech Solutions. I see actual entrepreneurs every day. It's brutal. It's competitive. And honestly, I just don't want to see you fail and get hurt." That word. Real. As in, what I might do wouldn't be real. I stopped talking about it after that. But I didn't stop doing it. I moved into a small apartment in a cheaper neighborhood. Kept my old 1999 Honda Civic. Shopped at Walmart. To everyone who knew me, Gloria Lopez had downscaled after her divorce, living on her severance and alimony. What they didn't see was the other Gloria, the one who worked 16-hour days. I took the OptiFlow platform and rebuilt it from the ground up. Hired 2 young developers remotely, Miguel in Argentina, Sarah in Ohio. They were brilliant and affordable and didn't care that their boss was a 60-year-old Latina woman. We launched the new version in June 2024. The pitch was simple. We could cut operational costs for mid-sized tech companies by 30 to 40% within 6 months. We used AI to find inefficiencies humans missed, and we charged a percentage of savings, so there was no risk to clients. Our first client came from a Reddit post where I'd answered someone's question about workflow automation. Our second came from that person's referral. By September 2024, we had 12 clients. By December, we had 47. Fourth quarter revenue, $4.2 million. I remember the day we hit 4 million. I was sitting in my little apartment, looking at the numbers on my laptop, and I started crying. Not from happiness, though I was happy, from rage. Rage that I'd spent 30 years making other people's systems work while everyone treated me like a glorified help desk. Rage that I'd been told I was obsolete at 58 when I was just getting started. Rage that my own daughter thought my ambitions were cute. But mostly rage at myself. For waiting so long. For hiding. For thinking I needed anyone's permission. I dried my tears and got back to work. Every Sunday I had dinner with Teresa. She was planning her wedding to David Brennan. Nice guy, sales VP at Innovate Tech Solutions, where Teresa worked as marketing director. The conversations went like this. "How's the job search going, Mom?" "I'm not really looking for a job. The consulting business is going well." "Oh, that's nice. You getting clients?" "A few." "That's great. Every little bit helps, right? I mean, until you find something stable." I'd smile and change the subject. David was worse. He had this way of explaining basic business concepts to me like I was a child learning to count. "You know, Gloria, in business, cash flow is really important," he'd say. "You have to make sure money is coming in consistently." "I understand cash flow, David." Right. I just mean it's more complex than people think. We use this whole revenue projection model at Innovate Tech. Very sophisticated stuff. I'd bitten my tongue so many times I'm surprised it still worked. In January 2025, something happened that changed everything. One of my clients, DataStream Technologies, was going bankrupt. The owner, Robert Chen, called me in a panic. "Gloria, we're done. We can't pay the bills. I'm going to have to shut down and sell for parts." I looked at DataStream's numbers. They weren't failing because their product was bad. They were failing because their operations were a disaster. Exactly the kind of disaster OptiFlow was designed to fix. "What if I bought the company?" I heard myself say. Silence on the line. "You?" "Me." "Gloria, no offense, but DataStream is worth $2.8 million. I know what it's worth. I can get the capital. I used my Q4 revenue plus a small business loan. Acquired DataStream Technologies in February 2025. Integrated OptiFlow into every aspect of their operations. Within 3 months, DataStream was profitable. In July, I sold it for $6.5 million, and I realized I'd found my model. Find tech companies that are struggling not because their product is bad, but because their operations are inefficient. Buy them at a discount. Optimize them with OptiFlow. Either keep them running profitably or flip them for significant returns. Between February and August 2025, I acquired 5 more companies. CloudServe Solutions, $1.9 million purchase, now generating $800,000 annual profit next gen. Analytics, $3.2 million purchase, sold for $7.1 million after 4 months. TechBridge Solutions, $2.4 million purchase, currently valued at $5.8 million. Quantum Systems, $4.1 million purchase, integrated into my portfolio. And then, in August 2025, the big one came across my desk. Metropolitan Tech Group. Metropolitan was a holding company that owned several tech subsidiaries. It was in crisis. Bad management, hemorrhaging money, bored and chaos. They wanted to sell quickly and quietly. Price, $11.2 million. I could afford it. Barely. It would take most of my liquid capital and a substantial loan, but the potential was enormous. I pulled the trigger. What I didn't tell anyone, not even Miguel and Sarah, was that Metropolitan Tech owned a company called Innovate Tech Solutions, the company where my daughter Teresa worked as marketing director. The company where my future son-in-law, David, was sales 5P. I bought it anyway. The invitation came in September, 3 weeks after I closed the Metropolitan Tech deal. Teresa and David were getting married in December. Big wedding, 200 guests. She wanted to know if I could help financially. "I know money's tight for you, Mom," she said on the phone, "but Dad's contributing $10,000, and if you could match even half of that." I thought about my $83 million portfolio, my $18 million in annual revenue, my 6 companies. "I can contribute $25,000, I said. Stunned silence. "Mom, are you sure? That's a lot. I've been saving, and the consulting work has been better than expected." "Oh, okay. That's really generous. Thank you." She didn't ask how a small consulting practice could generate that kind of money. She assumed I was draining my divorce settlement or that Richard had given me extra. 2 weeks later, she called again. "Mom, I need to ask you something, and please don't be offended." My stomach dropped. "What is it?" "The wedding has a lot of David's colleagues coming, important people from Innovate Tech. His boss, William Hartley, will be there with his wife." "Okay, and I need you to promise you won't talk about your consulting thing, the startup thing. The startup thing. My $83 million empire was a thing. Teresa, please, Mom, I know you're proud of it, and that's great. But these are serious business people, tech industry professionals, and I don't want them to think, you know how it is. When older people try to act like entrepreneurs, it can come across as what?" Long pause. "Sad. It can seem sad, like you're trying to be something you're not." Something inside me went very quiet. "I won't embarrass you, Teresa." "Thank you. I knew you'd understand. You're 60, Mom. Maybe it's just time to enjoy retirement, you know? Stop trying to prove something. Just be present at the wedding as my mom, not as someone pretending to be a tech entrepreneur." After we hung up, I sat looking at my laptop screen, at the spreadsheet showing my company valuations, at the OptiFlow dashboard monitoring 47 active clients. My daughter thought I was pretending. My daughter was ashamed of me. And in 3 months, I'd be sitting at her wedding, watching her marry a man who worked for a company I owned, surrounded by people who worked for companies I owned, and none of them would know. I could have told her then. Should have, maybe. But something stopped me. I wanted to see it. I wanted to see how they'd all treat the pathetic old lady with her cute little hobby. I wanted to feel exactly how much contempt they had for a 60-year-old woman who refused to fade away quietly. And then, only then, would I decide what to do about it. December arrived. The wedding was in 2 weeks. That morning, I had a video call with William Hartley, CEO of Innovate Tech Solutions. He didn't know I was his new boss yet. The Metropolitan Tech acquisition was still being kept quiet while we restructured. "Ms. Lopez," he said, looking exhausted, "I wanted to give you a heads up before the official announcement. Innovate Tech is in worse shape than we thought. We're planning significant layoffs after the new year." "How significant?" "We're eliminating the entire marketing department. 12 positions. Teresa's department. When were you planning to inform the employees?" "The Monday after Christmas. We didn't want to ruin anyone's holidays." I thought about Teresa, about to get married, about to go on her honeymoon, with no idea she was coming back to a pink slip. "Hold off on that decision," I said. "I want to review the numbers first." "Ms. Lopez, I've been over them a dozen times. Marketing is the least ROI-positive department we have." I said hold off. After the call, I sat in my apartment, my small, modest apartment that Teresa thought represented my failure, and I made a decision. I was going to that wedding. I was going to smile politely while people patronized me. I was going to listen to my daughter tell 200 people that some dreams have expiration dates. And then I was going to show them all exactly what a 60-year-old Latina woman with expired dreams could actually accomplish. 2 weeks until the wedding. I couldn't wait. The 3 months between that conversation with Teresa and the wedding were the strangest of my life. I'd wake up at 5 a.m., work on Metropolitan Tech's restructuring until noon, then switch to managing my other 5 companies. By evening, I'd be texting with Teresa about flower arrangements and seating charts. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. "Mom, we're putting you at table 3 with Aunt Michelle and Uncle Ron," Teresa said during one of our planning calls. "David's work people will be at tables 6 through 9. I figured you'd be more comfortable with family." What she meant was, "I'm keeping you away from the important people so you don't embarrass me." "That's fine, honey. And remember, just blend in, okay? Don't mention your consulting work to anyone from Innovate Tech." I remember. "I know you're proud of your little projects, Mom, but these people are real tech executives. They'll just feel awkward if you start talking about business." Real tech executives. I was literally restructuring the company they all worked for, but sure, real executives. "Teresa," I said carefully, "what if my business is more successful than you think?" She laughed, actually laughed. "Mom, that's sweet, but I work in this industry. I know what real success looks like. And no offense, but you're 60 years old starting from scratch. There's only so far you can go." I let it drop. Again. But here's what I was learning. My daughter didn't just underestimate me. She needed to underestimate me. It made her feel better about her own situation. Because Innovate Tech wasn't just struggling, it was dying. And Teresa knew it. I'd gained access to Innovate Tech's internal communications when I acquired Metropolitan Tech. I probably shouldn't have read Teresa's emails, but I did. And what I found broke my heart in a different way. Teresa was terrified. Her marketing campaigns for the past 6 months had all underperformed. 2 major clients had left, citing poor ROI. Her boss had started copying William Hartley on critical emails. Never a good sign. She'd written to a friend, "I think I'm going to get fired before the wedding. I'm working 70-hour weeks and nothing is working. Meanwhile, my mom is playing entrepreneur and everyone is supposed to pretend it's real. I can't handle her delusions on top of my actual career falling apart." Another email to David. "Sometimes I look at my mom trying to build a business at 60 and I think, is that going to be me in 25 years? Still trying, still failing, still pretending I matter?" I sat in my office looking at those words on my screen, and I finally understood. Teresa wasn't mocking me because she thought I was pathetic. She was mocking me because she was afraid of becoming me. The version of me she thought existed, desperate, irrelevant, clinging to fantasies of success while the world moved on. She had no idea that version didn't exist, that I'd already succeeded beyond anything she'd imagined. And I realized something. Telling her before the wedding would be an act of mercy. But mercy for what? For the way she'd treated me? For the shame she felt about having me as a mother? No, she'd asked me not to talk about my business. So I wouldn't. I'd let her have her perfect wedding, her speeches, her moment. And then we'd see what happened. December 20th, 2025, the wedding day. I woke up at 4 a.m. in my hotel room. Couldn't sleep. I pulled out my laptop and checked emails. Miguel had sent the final OptiFlow optimization report for quantum systems. We'd increased their efficiency by 43% in 3 months. Revenue projections up 67% for next quarter. Sarah sent a message. Boss, 3 new acquisition targets in the pipeline. Total value if we take all 3, $31 million. Want me to start due diligence? I typed back. Start on 2. Hold the 3rd until after the holidays. My phone buzzed. William Hartley. Ms. Lopez, I know it's early, but I need to discuss the Innovate Tech situation. The layoffs need to happen next week. Board is pressuring me. I can't hold them off anymore. I stared at that message for a long time. Teresa's last day of employment would be December 27th. She'd come back from her honeymoon to a pink slip. Unless I intervened, I could save her job with 1 email, 1 executive decision. Override William, restructure differently, protect my daughter. But that felt wrong somehow, like I'd be enabling the exact behavior that got us here, her refusal to see me as I actually was. I texted back, we'll discuss Monday. Enjoy the weekend. Then I got dressed for my daughter's wedding. Navy blue dress, simple, elegant but not flashy. Pearl earrings my mother gave me. Minimal makeup. I looked in the mirror and saw exactly what everyone expected to see. A 60-year-old divorced woman, trying her best, slightly past her prime. Perfect. The venue was stunning, I had to admit. Teresa had chosen this gorgeous estate with crystal chandeliers and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a winter garden. December in California meant everything was still green, with white roses everywhere. My $25,000 had paid for the venue and catering. Teresa thought it came from my divorce settlement. I arrived early, watching the setup. White chairs arranged in perfect rows. A string quartet warming up. Everything beautiful, everything perfect. Teresa appeared in the bridal suite doorway, and my breath caught. She was absolutely beautiful. Her dress was this flowing ivory gown with delicate lace sleeves. Her hair was up, soft curls framing her face. She looked so much like I did at her age. "Mom," she hurried over, carefully managing the train. "You're here early. Wouldn't miss it for anything, baby." She hugged me, and for a moment everything was okay. She was just my daughter, I was just her mom, and this was just a beautiful day. "I'm so nervous," she whispered. "You're going to be perfect." "Are you sitting with Aunt Michelle?" Back to reality. "Yes, table 3, all set. And you remember? No business talk. I know, Teresa, I promise. Today is about you and David." She smiled, relieved. "Thank you. I love you, Mom." "I love you too, sweetheart." And I meant it. Even knowing what was coming, even knowing how she saw me, I loved her completely. The ceremony was beautiful. Teresa and David exchanged vows under an arch of white roses. David cried. Teresa cried. I cried. For those 30 minutes, I let myself forget about empires and acquisitions and revelations. I was just a mother watching her daughter get married. When they kissed, everyone applauded. I applauded the loudest. Then we all moved to the reception hall, and everything changed. Cocktail hour was an exercise in restraint. I stuck to my assigned zone: family members, old friends, people who'd known me as Richard's wife or Teresa's mom. Not as Gloria Lopez, CEO of anything. Aunt Michelle immediately cornered me at the bar. "Gloria, don't you look nice? How are you holding up?" Michelle was Richard's sister. She'd been Team Richard during the divorce. "I'm well, thank you." "Still doing that consulting thing? That's so cute. Keeping busy is so important at your age. My friend Linda started selling essential oils at 65. Made almost $400 last year." I sipped my wine. "That's wonderful for Linda. You should look into it. She could probably use someone your age. You know, for the older demographic." "I'll keep that in mind." Uncle Ron joined us, already on his 3rd beer. "Diana, how's the job hunt going?" "It's Gloria, and I'm not job hunting. I have a business." He laughed. Literally laughed. Right, the business thing. Look, no shame in it, but at your age, maybe aim for something realistic? Office manager somewhere? They love older ladies for that kind of work. Dependable. Michelle nodded enthusiastically. Ron's right. This whole entrepreneur phase is sweet, but there's no shame in taking a normal job. You've got to think about retirement, healthcare, stability. I appreciate the concern. We just don't want to see you struggle, Ron continued. Richard mentioned you've been having money troubles since the split. Richard said that? Well, sure. How else could you afford to help with the wedding? He figured you must have maxed out credit cards or something. I took another sip of wine and excused myself before I said something I'd regret. As I walked through the cocktail area, I could hear fragments of conversations. Teresa's mom is trying to be an entrepreneur at 60. Isn't that precious? Heard she does some kind of life coaching or small business consulting. Probably just needs something to fill her days since the divorce. I spotted tables 6 through 9, the Innovate Tech crowd. David's colleagues, their partners, all dressed in that tech industry trying to look casual way. Expensive jeans, designer blazers, statement watches. William Hartley was there with his wife, Catherine. He was mid-50s, graying, tired-looking. The weight of Innovate Tech's failures showed in his posture. I watched him for a moment, this man who didn't know I was his boss, who didn't know I held his professional future in my hands. He was talking to David's groomsman, Marcus. I drifted close enough to hear. Yeah, David's lucky Teresa is so understanding about the work stress, Marcus was saying. With the layoffs coming, everyone's on edge. William shot him a look. We're not announcing anything until after the holidays. Right, sorry, but everyone knows. Teresa knows her department is toast, right? I assume so. She's smart enough to read the writing on the wall. So she did know. She was getting married knowing she'd probably be unemployed in weeks. Another piece clicked into place. We were called to dinner. I found table 3, Michelle, Ron, 2 of Teresa's college friends I barely knew, and David's Aunt Patricia. Not the Patricia Richard had left me for, thankfully. Different Patricia. The meal was lovely. Filet mignon, roasted vegetables, everything my money had helped pay for. Between courses, people kept glancing at the head table where Teresa and David sat, waiting for the speeches. David's best man went first. Standard stuff. Funny stories about David in college. A sweet story about how he knew Teresa was the one. Then Jessica Martinez, the maid of honor, stood up. My stomach knotted. Jessica was Teresa's closest friend from work. I'd met her a few times. She was smart, funny, ambitious, and she had that particular brand of casual cruelty that young, successful women sometimes develop. The kind that punches down while pretending to be harmless. She tapped the microphone. Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica, Teresa's maid of honor and work wife at Innovate Tech. Applause. Laughter. I've known Teresa for 5 years, and I've never seen her happier than she is today. David, you're a lucky guy. More applause. But I have to talk about the bride's family for a minute, especially Teresa's mom, Gloria. Oh no. Gloria's been quite the character lately. Laughter already starting. See, Gloria's going through what I guess you'd call a silver startup phase. The laughter got louder. Silver startup phase, like it was a disease. At 60, Gloria decided she wanted to build a tech empire. She made actual air quotes with her fingers. The room roared. I sat very still, my face frozen in a polite smile while my insides churned. We keep telling her, Gloria, honey, maybe YouTube tutorials aren't the same as an MBA, but she won't listen. The whole room was laughing now. 200 people, all enjoying the joke about the delusional old lady. Teresa's been so patient with her mom's little projects. Oh, I have a client meeting. Oh, I'm working on a big deal. We're like, sure, Gloria, you go get 'em. Jessica was doing a mock-encouraging voice, like talking to a child. But seriously, we love that Gloria's keeping busy instead of becoming one of those lonely divorced moms who calls their kids every day. At least she has her consulting hobby. The applause was deafening. I looked down at my plate, at my hands, at my 60-year-old hands that had coded an AI platform from scratch, that had signed acquisition agreements worth millions, that had built something real. And I thought about those 200 people, laughing, at me, about something they knew nothing about. Jessica sat down to more applause. I could feel Michelle patting my shoulder. She's just teasing, Gloria. It's all in good fun. Good fun. Then Teresa stood up. My daughter took the microphone, smiling at the crowd, beautiful in her white dress, glowing with happiness. Thank you, Jess. Yeah, my mom has definitely been on a journey lately. Laughter, knowing laughter. Look, I love my mom, but she's been trying to prove something since Dad left her for Patricia. Wait, she was really going there? In her wedding speech? She keeps talking about clients and revenue projections and scaling up like she's on Shark Tank. More laughter. Someone whistled. Mom, you're 60. You worked in IT support for 30 years. That's not the same as being a venture capitalist or a tech CEO. My chest felt tight. Some dreams have expiration dates, and that's okay. Some dreams have expiration dates. My daughter just told 200 people that my dreams were expired. We just want you to be realistic about what you can accomplish at this stage of life. You've had a good career. You raised me. That's enough, isn't it? That's enough, isn't it? Being a mother should be enough. Having a career should be enough. At 60, wanting more was greedy, unrealistic, sad. But hey, we support your hobby, even if it means listening to your business plans like you're Elon Musk. The room exploded with laughter. People were practically crying. Someone at table 7 was slapping the table. To my mom, may she eventually find peace with where she actually is in life. We love you anyway. Everyone raised their glasses. To Gloria! 200 people toasting the pathetic old lady who needed to accept her limitations. I raised my glass too, smiled, played my part. But something inside me didn't just break. It transformed into something cold, something clear, something done with being small. After the speeches, it got worse. People approached me with that particular kind of pity that's worse than contempt. David's Aunt Patricia, the other Patricia. Gloria, honey, don't feel bad. My neighbor started selling Tupperware at 65. She made almost $300 last year. I could connect you two. Teresa's college friend. It's so brave that you're trying something new. Most people your age just give up. Even if it doesn't work out, at least you tried, right? Marcus, the groomsman. My mom does Etsy crafts, keeps her busy. Maybe you could do something like that instead of the business stuff? Less stressful. Each one was a paper cut, individually small, collectively devastating. Then David found me. Gloria! He was tipsy, happy, oblivious. Thanks for being such a good sport about the speeches. Teresa was worried you'd be upset. Was she? Yeah, but I told her your mom seems pretty chill. And you are. That's great. David, look, I know this startup thing is important to you, he said, leaning in conspiratorially. But between you and me? At your age, it's really more about staying engaged than actually building a career, right? I stared at him. This was my son-in-law. My daughter had chosen this man. What exactly do you think I do, David? He shrugged. Some kind of small business consulting, right? Teresa mentioned you help local shops with their paperwork or something, which is nice. Every little bit helps when you're starting over. Local shops, paperwork, starting over. That's what she told you? Well, yeah, I mean, that's what it is, right? You're not running Google or anything. He laughed at his own joke. I nodded slowly. Right, not Google. Exactly. And honestly, Gloria, there's no shame in that. You've got to be realistic about what's achievable. You're 60, you've been out of the real workforce for a while, you're starting from zero. Just enjoy the process, you know? Don't put too much pressure on yourself to actually succeed. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to actually succeed. Thank you for that advice, David. Anytime. We're family now. Oh, and seriously, thanks for the wedding contribution. However you managed it. I know money's tight for you. He patted my shoulder and walked away. I stood there, in the middle of my daughter's wedding reception, surrounded by 200 people who thought I was a joke, and I made a decision. I was done protecting their ignorance. I excused myself to the restroom, needed a moment alone, needed to breathe, needed to remind myself why I'd chosen to stay silent. The hallway leading to the bathrooms wrapped around behind the reception hall. As I turned the corner, I heard voices. Teresa and Jessica in an alcove, half hidden behind a decorative pillar. I can't believe you actually said that in your speech, Teresa was saying, but she was laughing. Girl, someone had to. Your mom needed a reality check. I know, but in front of everyone? Please, she's been embarrassing you for months with this business fantasy. At least now everyone knows not to take her seriously when she starts talking about her empire. They both laughed. "The thing is," Teresa said, her voice getting quieter, "I feel bad, but she's been so lost since the divorce. This whole business thing is just her way of feeling important again. We don't have the heart to tell her it's never going to be anything real." "That's so sad," Jessica replied. "But at least she's keeping busy instead of becoming one of those depressing empty nest moms who calls their kids every day." "Exactly. And honestly, I'd rather have her playing entrepreneur than dating again. Can you imagine? She'd probably find some other loser like my dad." More laughter. "How long do you think before she gives up the consulting thing?" Teresa sighed. "I give it 6 months. Once the money runs out and she can't get any real clients, she'll have to face reality, get a normal job, maybe find a nice book club or something." "Well, at least she has you to help her when she crashes and burns." "Yeah, I'll be there. I mean, she's my mom, even if she is kind of pathetic right now." Pathetic. My daughter thought I was pathetic. I stood in that hallway, hearing my child, the person I'd raised, sacrificed for, loved unconditionally, call me pathetic. And something inside me just stopped. Not broke. Stopped, like a switch flipping off. I walked past them without saying a word. They didn't even notice me. I went into the bathroom, locked the stall door, and sat down on the closed toilet lid. I didn't cry. I was done crying. Instead, I pulled out my phone and texted William Hartley. "William, it's Gloria Lopez. I'll be at the wedding tonight. We should talk. In person. It's time." His response came within seconds. "Ms. Lopez, I'm so sorry. I had no idea you'd be here. I would have approached you sooner. Of course, whenever you're ready." I looked at myself in my phone's dark screen, at the reflection of a 60-year-old woman in a modest navy dress, the woman they all thought they knew. I put my phone away, fixed my lipstick, and walked back out to the reception. It was time to stop being invisible. I found William Hartley at the bar, ordering what looked like his third scotch. His wife Catherine was chatting with some other spouses at their table, giving him a moment alone. He saw me approaching, and his entire body language changed. Straightened up, set down his glass. "Ms. Lopez," he said quietly, "I wasn't sure if I should approach you or wait for you to—" "Walk with me," I said. We moved to a quiet corner of the venue, near the windows overlooking the garden, far enough from the reception that we could talk privately. "William, how many people at this wedding work for companies I own?" He looked around the room, doing mental math. "Directly? Maybe 30. If we count contractors and subsidiaries, probably 60. "And how many of them know who I am?" "None. Metropolitan Tech's acquisition hasn't been publicly announced yet. The board wanted to wait until after the restructuring." He paused. "Ms. Lopez, I have to say I had no idea you were Teresa's mother. The last name didn't match, and I use my maiden name for business. Lopez is my married name. Was my married name." "I see." He ran his hand through his hair. "Ma'am, I am deeply uncomfortable with what I've witnessed tonight." "The speeches?" "The entire evening. The way people have been treating you. If they knew, but they don't know. That's the point, isn't it?" I looked out at the reception, at the 200 people who'd spent the evening mocking me. "Tell me something, William. In your professional opinion, what happens when people discover they've been underestimating someone powerful?" "They panic," he said immediately. "They try to backtrack, make excuses, repair the relationship." "And is it ever genuine?" "Rarely," I nodded. "That's what I thought." "Ms. Lopez, Gloria, may I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "Why didn't you tell them? Why let yourself be humiliated like this?" I watched Teresa across the room, laughing with her bridesmaids, beautiful and happy and completely unaware. Because I needed to see it. I needed to know exactly how little they thought of me. And I needed them to show me who they really are when they think I'm powerless. And now? Now I'm tired of being invisible. William was quiet for a moment. Then, "What do you want me to do?" I turned to look at him. Really look at him. He was a good man, I could tell. Stuck in a bad situation, trying to keep a failing company afloat, facing impossible decisions. "Tell me about the layoffs. The truth." He sighed. "Innovate Tech is hemorrhaging money. We've lost 3 major clients in the past quarter. The marketing department has been ineffective, not because they're bad at their jobs, but because the product needs work and marketing can't fix that. Laying off Teresa's entire department saves us about $800,000 a year, but it doesn't solve the core problem. Which is? The product is good, but the operations are a mess. We're inefficient, slow to market, bloated with middle management. We need a complete overhaul. And if you had that overhaul, we'd probably be profitable within 6 months. But overhauling takes capital and expertise we don't have. I smiled. What if you did have it? His eyes widened. OptiFlow? I've been reviewing Innovate Tech's systems since the acquisition. You're right, operations are the problem, but I can fix it. I've done it 5 times already. So the layoffs might not be necessary, but I need to make that decision based on what's right for the company, not on protecting my daughter. Does Teresa know you own Metropolitan Tech? Teresa thinks I help local shops with paperwork. He actually winced. Oh my God. Yeah. Ms. Lopez, I don't mean to overstep, but that speech she gave. I know. And you're still considering saving her job? I looked at him. William, if your daughter stood up in front of 200 people and told them your dreams had expiration dates, would you let her lose her job to teach her a lesson? He was quiet. That's what I thought, I said. This isn't about revenge. It's about truth. So what are you going to do? I looked back at the reception, at Teresa, at David, at all those people who'd spent the evening telling me to accept my limitations. I'm going to stop letting people underestimate me, and I'm going to need your help. William, I need you to understand something. What I'm about to ask you to do, it's going to be uncomfortable. I'm already uncomfortable, ma'am. Good. That means you're paying attention. I took a breath. I want you to take the microphone and tell everyone who I am. His face went pale. Here? Now? At your daughter's wedding? Yes. Ms. Lopez, that's going to cause a scene. I know. Teresa will be mortified. I know that too. Then why? Because if I don't do this now, nothing changes. Teresa goes on thinking I'm pathetic. David keeps mansplaining business to me. I keep getting invited to family dinners where everyone pats my head and tells me to be realistic. And in 2 weeks, my daughter comes home from her honeymoon to discover she's been fired from a company her mother owns. I met his eyes. Which version sounds more mortifying to you? He absorbed that. You want her to hear it from me? Not from you? If it comes from me, she'll think I'm lying or exaggerating. If it comes from her husband's boss, the man she respects as a real tech executive, she'll have to believe it. That's calculated. I'm a businesswoman, William. Everything I do is calculated. He looked at me with something like awe. You've been planning this. Not exactly, but I've been preparing for it. There's a difference. And you're sure about this? Once I say it, there's no taking it back. I'm 60 years old, William. I've spent the last year building an $83 million empire while everyone I love told me to act my age. I'm done taking things back. He nodded slowly. All right, but ma'am, when this comes out, people are going to panic, especially the Innovate Tech employees. They're going to think their jobs are in danger. Are they? That depends on you. Then tell them this. I don't make decisions based on personal feelings. I make them based on business realities. If they're good at their jobs, they have nothing to worry about. If they're not, I shrugged. They should have thought about that before spending my daughter's wedding reception mocking their boss. A small smile crossed his face. You know what? I think I'm going to enjoy this. Good, because you're about to make my daughter's wedding very memorable. William Hartley walked to the front of the reception hall, picked up the microphone. The DJ lowered the music. Excuse me, everyone, he said. His voice carried authority. People quieted immediately. I apologize for interrupting the festivities, but I've just discovered something remarkable that I need to share. I watched from my table. Michelle looked at me, confused. What's this about? Just listen, I said quietly. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm William Hartley, CEO of Innovate Tech Solutions, where many of us in this room work. David looked proud. Teresa smiled. They thought their boss was about to toast them. I need to make a public apology, William continued, specifically to the mother of the bride, Mrs. Gloria Lopez. The smile faded from Teresa's face. You see, I've just had a very enlightening conversation with Mrs. Lopez, and I've realized that we've all made a terrible, terrible mistake this evening. The room was dead silent now, 200 people frozen, waiting. We've been treating Mrs. Lopez as if she were an amateur. Someone playing at business. Someone whose dreams, as was mentioned earlier, have expiration dates. I saw Jessica's face go white. What I didn't realize until about 10 minutes ago, is that Gloria Lopez isn't playing at business. He paused for effect. Professional presenter that he was. She is business. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. Let me be specific. Gloria Lopez is the founder and CEO of DT Innovations, the company behind OptiFlow AI. For those of you who don't know, OptiFlow is currently the leading operations optimization software in our industry. Louder murmurs. People starting to sit up, pay attention. In the past 18 months, Ms. Lopez has acquired 6 companies. 6, including DataStream Technologies, which she purchased for $2.8 million and sold for $6.5 million profit. CloudServe Solutions, NextGen Analytics, TechBridge Solutions, Quantum Systems. David's mouth was literally hanging open. And in August of this year, Ms. Lopez acquired Metropolitan Tech Group for $11.2 million. Wait, someone at Table 7 said out loud. Metropolitan owns Innovate Tech Solutions, yes. William's voice was steady. Which means the woman we've all been patronizing tonight, the woman whose business dreams were mocked in not 1 but 2 speeches, is technically the owner of the company where many of us work. You could have heard a pin drop. Teresa, David. William looked directly at them. Your mother and mother-in-law isn't a small-time consultant helping local shops with paperwork. She runs an $83 million business portfolio. She's your boss's boss's boss. Teresa made a small sound. Not quite a gasp, not quite a sob. So when we've been making jokes about her little projects and her late-life crisis and telling her to act her age, William's voice hardened. We've been mocking one of the most successful entrepreneurs in our industry. The silence was deafening. Then chaos. Everyone started talking at once. I saw Marcus turn to his wife, face white. Oh my God. Oh my God. I told her to do Etsy crafts. Jessica grabbed Teresa's arm. Did you know? Did you know about this? Teresa couldn't speak. She was staring at me across the room like she'd never seen me before. David stood up, sat down, stood up again. Aunt Michelle turned to me. Gloria, is this true? Yes. But you drive a 1999 Honda. It gets me where I need to go. And your apartment is perfectly adequate for my needs. Uncle Ron's face was purple. You let us think you were struggling. No, Ron. You assumed I was struggling. I never said that. William held up his hand for quiet. It took a minute, but eventually the room settled enough for him to continue. I want to be very clear about something, he said. Tori Missy. Lopez has been incredibly gracious about tonight's misunderstandings. A lesser person would have been deeply offended, angry, vindictive. He looked at me. I gave him a small nod to continue. But what I find most remarkable is that Ms. Lopez was willing to endure public mockery rather than upstage her daughter's wedding with news of her success. That shows character. That shows love. Now Teresa really did start crying. So I think we all owe Ms. Lopez an apology, starting with me. William looked directly at me. Ms. Lopez, I'm sorry for every time I treated you as anything less than the formidable businesswoman you are. He handed me the microphone. 200 pairs of eyes on me. This was it. I stood up slowly, walked to the front, took the microphone from William, looked at Teresa, at David, at all those people who'd laughed. Thank you, William, though I wish this evening had gone differently. I took a breath. Yes, it's all true. I'm Gloria Lopez, CEO of DT Innovations. I own 6 companies worth a combined $83 million. More gasps, more whispers. I know this comes as a surprise to many of you, especially my family. I looked directly at Teresa. Honey, I didn't tell you because you asked me not to. You specifically asked me not to talk about my business tonight. You were embarrassed by what you thought was my little consulting hobby. So I respected your wishes and stayed quiet. Teresa's tears were flowing freely now. But I need to say something about those speeches, about dreams having expiration dates. The room was absolutely silent. When I was 58 years old, I got fired from a job I'd worked for 30 years. The same day, my husband of 32 years left me for a younger woman, and everyone told me the same thing. Accept it. You're too old to start over. Find something safe. Stop trying to prove something. I could see people shifting uncomfortably. But here's what nobody understood. I wasn't trying to prove something. I was trying to build something. There's a difference. I looked around the room. Some of you work for companies I now own. You've been making jokes all evening about my unrealistic ambitions and my late-life crisis. You've been telling me to act my age and be realistic. Marcus looked like he wanted to disappear. But while you were laughing at the delusional old lady, that delusional old lady was restructuring your companies, optimizing your operations, and quite possibly saving your jobs. That landed like a bomb. Now, I want to be very clear about something. My voice was firm. I don't make business decisions based on personal feelings. I'm not going to fire anyone for hurting my feelings tonight. That would be petty and unprofessional. I could see relief starting to spread. But I am going to make decisions based on competence, performance, and whether people add value to the organizations they're part of. And if you've been spending your work hours gossiping about your boss's mother instead of doing your actual jobs, I let that hang. That's going to be a problem. Dead silence. Then I turned to Teresa. Teresa, I need to tell you something else. My daughter was pale, shaking. David had his arm around her. I acquired Metropolitan Tech 3 months ago, which means I've had access to Innovate Tech's financials for 3 months. William closed his eyes. He knew what was coming. Innovate Tech is in serious trouble. You know that. You've known it for months. Teresa nodded, unable to speak. There are layoffs planned for the week after Christmas. Your entire marketing department is being eliminated. You are going to lose your job on December 27th. Teresa gasped. David's face went white. You were going to come home from your honeymoon to a pink slip. Oh my God, Teresa whispered. I could have told you weeks ago, months ago, but every time I tried to talk to you about business, you rolled your eyes and changed the subject. You told me my dreams had expiration dates. You told me to act my age. You made it very clear you didn't want to hear about my little projects. The room was riveted. So I stopped trying, and you were so busy being embarrassed by your mother's delusions that you never thought to ask if maybe, just maybe, I knew something you didn't. I saw the realization hit her, the full weight of it. Mom, her voice broke. I'm not telling you this to hurt you, Teresa. I'm telling you because we can't keep doing this. You can't keep treating me like I'm invisible, like I'm irrelevant, like I'm just some embarrassing old woman who needs to accept her place. I'm so sorry, she sobbed, and I can't keep hiding who I am to make you comfortable. I looked at William. The layoffs at Innovate Tech, are they necessary? He looked surprised that I was asking him in front of everyone. Not if we implement OptiFlow across the organization. We'd need about 6 weeks and some capital investment, but we could restructure instead of downsizing. Then that's what we'll do. No layoffs, full restructure. Teresa's department will be evaluated on performance like everyone else. Relief flooded William's face, flooded Teresa's face. But, I continued, I'm not doing this to protect you, Teresa. I'm doing it because it's the right business decision. Innovate Tech has potential. It just needs better operations. That's what I do. That's what I've always done. I looked around the room one more time. I'm 60 years old. I've built a successful business from scratch. I've acquired 6 companies. I employ over 400 people. And I did it all while people told me I was too old, too female, too late to the game. I handed the microphone back to William. So no, some dreams don't have expiration dates. Some dreams just need time to grow. And some women don't act their age. They redefine what their age can do. I walked back to my table. The room erupted. I didn't stick around for the standing ovation, the awkward apologies, the desperate networking attempts. I went to a small private room off the reception hall, a bride's preparation room that was now empty, and sat down on the couch. 5 minutes later, Teresa knocked on the door. Mom, can I come in? It's your wedding. You can go wherever you want. She came in, still in her beautiful dress, makeup ruined from crying. David followed her, looking shell-shocked. Mom, She couldn't finish, just stood there crying. I didn't help her, didn't fill the silence. She needed to find her own words. I've been awful, she finally said. I've been so awful to you. Yes, you have. I don't even know why. She sat down beside me. When you started talking about your business, I felt threatened. Like if you could do something big at 60, what was my excuse for struggling at 34? Finally, Finally, the truth. So you tore me down to make yourself feel better? I think so. Yeah. God, that's so awful. That's so... Fresh tears. I'm so sorry, Mom. David cleared his throat. Ms. Lopez, Gloria, ma'am, I am also deeply sorry for everything I said, the way I treated you. If I had known... I cut him off. David, that's the problem. You only respect me now because you know I have power. What about before? He had no answer. See, that's what I've learned from all this. When people think you're powerless, they show you who they really are. And you two showed me that you were ashamed of me, that you thought I was pathetic, that my ambitions were a joke. Mom, no. Teresa, you called me pathetic. I heard you. In the hallway, talking to Jessica. You said I was kind of pathetic right now. Her face crumpled. You heard that? I heard all of it. Oh, God, Mom, I didn't mean... You did mean it. That's the problem. You meant every word. Silence. Here's what's going to happen, I said. Tomorrow you're going on your honeymoon. When you come back, we're going to have a serious conversation about your career and your future. Am I fired? No, but you're going to be transferred to a different department and evaluated on your actual performance, not on being my daughter. Can you handle that? Yes, absolutely. And we're going to family therapy. Both of us. This pattern, this dynamic where you need me to be small so you can feel big, it stops now. Okay, I'm not doing this to punish you, Teresa. I'm doing it because I love you too much to let you keep treating people this way. Today it was me. Tomorrow it might be someone else. Someone who doesn't have the power or resources to fight back. She nodded, crying. You humiliated me tonight because you thought I was powerless. That's not the daughter I raised, and it's not the woman I want you to be. I know, and I'm so sorry. I looked at David. And you've got a lot to learn about respect, about what it means to value people for who they are, not what they can do for you. Yes, ma'am. Go back to your wedding, I said. Smile for your guests. Enjoy your day. But when you come back from Cabo, we're doing this differently. Mom, can you forgive me? I looked at my daughter, my beautiful, flawed, scared daughter who'd hurt me so deeply. Eventually, I said. But forgiveness takes time, and it requires change. Real change. I'll change, I promise. We'll see. It's June now, half a year since the wedding that broke the internet. Yes, someone filmed William's speech and Teresa's reaction, and it went viral. 30 million views. Think pieces in Forbes and Harvard Business Review about ageism and women in tech. I didn't ask for that, but I didn't stop it either. Here's what's happened since. Innovate Tech was restructured using OptiFlow. No layoffs. The company is now profitable for the first time in 2 years. Teresa was transferred to project management, not because she's my daughter, but because that's where her skills actually lie. She's good at it, better than she was at marketing. David is more respectful, not perfect, but trying. Their marriage is strained. They're in couples therapy. I think they might make it, but it's going to take work. Teresa and I meet every Wednesday morning. Business and breakfast, we call it. She's learning about my companies, asking real questions, actually listening to the answers. Sometimes she helps with project management for OptiFlow implementations. She's finding her place. She wrote a public apology blog post about ageism, about underestimating her mother, about her own insecurities. It went viral, too. She got job offers from 3 major tech companies. Turned them all down to stay at Innovate Tech and prove myself without the viral fame, as she put it. I respect that. Aunt Michelle and Uncle Ron stopped giving me advice about realistic expectations. They started asking for business advice instead. I mostly ignore them. Jessica wrote me a long apology letter. I read it. Didn't respond. She quit Innovate Tech last month. I didn't stop her. William Hartley became my COO across all my companies. Turns out he's brilliant when he's not stressed about failing. We've acquired 2 more companies since December. Portfolio value, $127 million. And me? I'm 61 now. Still driving my 1999 Honda. Still living in my modest apartment. Still building. But I'm not invisible anymore. Last week, Teresa asked if she could bring me as her +1 to a tech industry conference. I want people to meet my mom, she said. Not my boss. My mom, the woman who taught me that dreams don't have expiration dates, that being scared isn't a reason to stop trying, that 60 isn't too old for anything. We went to the conference together. She introduced me to everyone, not as Gloria Lopez, CEO, as her mother, who also happens to be a CEO. During the keynote, they asked me to say a few words. I wasn't prepared, but I stood up anyway. "I'm Gloria Lopez," I said. "I'm 61 years old. I started my business at 60 after being fired and divorced, and I want to tell you something." The room was silent. Everyone here has been told they're too something. Too old, too young, too female, too different, too late. And you have two choices. You can believe them, or you can prove them wrong. I looked at Teresa in the front row. She was crying again, but this time with pride. I chose to prove them wrong, not because I wanted revenge, not because I wanted to make people feel bad, but because I deserved to find out what I was capable of. And so do you. Don't let anyone, not your family, not your friends, not society, tell you that your dreams have expiration dates. The only expiration date that matters is the one you set for yourself. Standing ovation. 300 tech professionals on their feet. Teresa was the first one standing. And that, more than the money or the companies or the viral fame, is how I know we're going to be okay. We're not perfect. We're still rebuilding. Some days are harder than others, but we're doing it honestly now, as who we really are, and that's worth more than any empire. Dear Mom, it's been 6 months since the wedding. 6 months since I humiliated you in front of 200 people and discovered you were secretly one of the most successful entrepreneurs in our industry. I've started this letter 50 times. Deleted it 49, but Dr. Rodriguez, our therapist, says I need to write down what I learned. So here it is. I learned that I was jealous of you. Not the successful you. I didn't even know that version existed. I was jealous of the trying you, the version who wouldn't give up, who wouldn't accept limitations, who wouldn't stop believing in herself even when everyone told her to. I was 34 and already giving up, and watching you not give up at 60 made me feel like a failure. So I tried to make you stop trying. If I could convince you that you were delusional, I wouldn't have to face my own fear. That's cruel. That's unfair. And I'm so sorry. But here's what I learned working with you these past 6 months. You're not just successful because you built an empire. You're successful because you built it while being kind, while being generous, while being the kind of leader people want to work for. You saved my job when you could have let me fail. You restructured Innovate Tech when you could have sold it for parts. You gave Jessica a good reference when you could have tanked her career. You're successful because you refused to let being underestimated make you bitter. I want to be like that. I'm trying to be like that. I'm not there yet. But I'm trying. Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I gave you every reason to. I love you, Mom. Teresa, I read Teresa's letter sitting at my desk in my small apartment. My 1999 Honda is parked outside. My OptiFlow dashboard shows 53 active clients. My portfolio is worth $127 million. But this letter is worth more than all of it. I pick up my phone and text Teresa. Love you too, baby. Same time Wednesday? I'll buy the coffee. Her response is immediate. I'll bring the donuts. I'm 61 years old. I run a tech empire. I've proven that dreams don't have expiration dates. But the thing I'm most proud of? I'm teaching my daughter the same lesson. And that's how you build a legacy that lasts. This story is for every woman who's been told she's too old. For every mother who's been underestimated by her own children. For everyone who's been mocked for trying when everyone else had already quit. Gloria Lopez is fictional, but her story is real. Somewhere right now, a 60-year-old woman is building something amazing while people tell her to act her age. A mother is being dismissed by her adult children. An entrepreneur is being laughed at for refusing to give up. This story is for them. And it's for you, if you've ever been told your dreams have expiration dates. They don't. Now go prove them wrong. Never Too Old Stories.